A very good evening to all. I warmly welcome all the participants for the day 4 of a faculty development program. We are delighted to have your continued enthusiasm, active participation, and commitment throughout the session. Today promises yet another insightful and enriching experience, and we look forward to the learning, engaging, and growing together. Thank you for being with us and welcome once again. So now we are going to start with the session 1 for the day. So it's my pleasure to introduce our distinguished speaker, Mr. Arun PV, an accomplished researcher and academician with deep expertise in AI, deep learning, and remote sensing. He holds a PhD from IIT Bombay, an MTech from NIT Bhopal, and BTech from Cochin University. He currently serves as an assistant professor at IIT Sri City and also extends at Creo University and the Indian Institute of Science and Engineering Research. His experience spans roles such as Associate Vice President for Deep Learning at Hawaii R&D, postdoctoral researcher in Israel, and multiple international research fellowship. Mr. Harun has contributed extensively to national and international initiatives, serving as a jury for a Government of India National Hackathon, presenting ML research for lunar exploration at NASA, and receiving appreciation from the Indian Army for the Drishti project. He has organized several national workshops and FDPs, shaped academic curriculum, guided research scholars, and led projects with ISRO, DST, and Indian Army. With 80 plus journal papers and 60 plus conference publications, along with several prestigious grants and awards, Mr. Arun stands as a leading expert in this field. It is indeed an honor to welcome Mr. Arun PV, our distinguished speaker for today's session on explainable models for EO data analytics. Sir, your rich experience and the deep knowledge make you an exceptional resource person for this FTP. So we extend our sincere welcome. Welcome to you, sir. Over to you.
Thank you very much for the kind introduction, ma'am. Yeah, and thanks to Dr. Anaka and Dr. Veena and others, and all the faculties who are organizing this program for inviting me. Yeah, I hope I'm audible.
Yes, sir, you're audible, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Yeah, once again, I thank you, the organizers, for the kind invitation. So without much delay, we'll straight away, I'll share the screen. We'll go for the presentation. Hope my screen is visible.
Yes, sir. It is visible, but it is partially visible. There are some.
Now?
Yes, sir. Now it is completely visible.
Fine. Okay. Once again, yeah, so we'll start with the topic. I'm not feeling very well today, so I'll just, go ahead as it is. So, first of all, the title of this talk is the Explainable Models for EO Data Analytics. So, to start with, all of you may be now aware, like what is spatial data, what are the different data sources for the spatial data. So before just, going deep into this explainability and other stuffs, we'll just try to understand what are the data and the data sources available. So any data having location associated with it is called spatial data, right? So if you take a photograph and you geotag it, it's also having a location associated with it. If you take some soil sample, so you will test it in the lab. The moment you add the coordinates of that location, it's a spatial data. Same way, you have satellite images. Satellite images are nothing but the photos being taken from a camera mounted on a satellite. So we'll get a photograph of that surface. That's also another spatial data. And each pixel will have a particular coordinate system. That means coordinate. That means each pixel will correspond to an area on the ground. So this is a basic idea of spatial data. But we also have other types of spatial data like maps, Okay, so those are called vector data, and the grid form of data is known as the raster data. So we can also have elevation data both in vector and raster form. So these are the basic data. There are a lot of data and data sources, but the basic types of spatial data, this is like a satellite image. You can see that each pixel correspond to some area on the Earth's surface. Now, so this will happen only when it is georeferenced out. That means we are assigning a coordinate to each pixel. So same way we also have, maps. So we can also have the elevation data. For example, this type of, 3D modeling requires elevation data. Elevation data means height. So from a satellite image, you will get, if I go to a pixel, you will get the latitude and longitude or the XY coordinate. And along with that, if you have the altitude also, we'll say that that's a elevation data. So the basic idea of this data sources, this slide pretty much summarizes it. So you have a satellite data. Then if you zoom in, you can see like each of the pixels having some values. So same thing you can also represent in the form of a map. When we use Google Map, we have the option for getting the terrain information as well as the map form, right? So one is raster data, the one is vector data. So this is a basic data division in spatial data, but in all cases, all these data is associated with a location. So this example pretty much, correlates this aspect. If you want to represent some houses, so you can represent it as points in a map. At the same time, you can represent them as single cells in a raster data. Same way, you can have a line feature for water bodies or rivers. But the same thing you can represent in terms of, so each cell or each pixel will have a particular value. So that way also we can represent river bodies. Usually when we take a satellite data, right, we can see if there is a river, we can see that river. When we take a map, we can see the river as a line feature or maybe as a polygon feature, depending on the scale. Also, we have polygon features, which can represent certain, boundaries or other things. Water bodies, boundaries, buildings at a large scale, etc., etc. So that said, we'll now move more into the raster data part. So if you have raster data, you can easily convert it into vector data. You can extract rod network from a satellite image, and you can fit a line onto that to get the vector data. So now, when we see about raster data, already we have seen if you zoom an image, you'll get pixels, right? So you can see here the pixels are the fundamental, the fundamental units of an image. So here we can see that when you zoom an image, you will get these pixels, the pixel values. They are the fundamental unit. So now, if imagine that we are taking a photograph of your face. So each pixel represents some portion of your face, and it records what value is being reflected from your face. So imagine there is a camera, and that camera is sensitive only to red color. Then, if you are wearing a red t-shirt, that will appear white, and those pixels will appear as white. If there is no red component, it will appear as dark. So these type of images, which usually we capture uh, in a single band or in a single color, we call them as grayscale images. But they are not like black and white images. This is a black and white image because here pixels have only black and white color. But here it is not still color, but it shows the variations of gray. That means if suppose I am keeping three cameras, one for red reflectance emitted, red radiation reflected from your face, your body, and another for green reflectance, another for blue reflectance. So you have red, green, and blue, three cameras. Each of these cameras will give you a grayscale image. Grayscale image means, I hope you all understood, when we were kids, we used to draw paintings using pencil, right? It's not color, but it's like different shades of gray. So you will have one grayscale image for red, one for green, one for blue. For example, if you are wearing a red cap, that red the camera which captures the red color will have that cap as white, others as dark. And now if you are wearing a blue t-shirt, that t-shirt will appear white in the blue image. And if you are wearing maybe a green pants, so that will appear white in the green image. So you have three images, three grayscale images, one for red, one for green, one for blue. We combine all these to get our color image. So I hope it's clear. So this way we get RGB images. So we have images means either it can be black and white or grayscale. The red, green, and blue grayscale images can combine together to form color images. So when we were having during COVID time, we know that when we were visiting these airports, so normal camera cannot detect whether we are having fever or not, right? But infrared camera can detect whether you are having fever or not. So same way, so there are some regions of the spectra we can only see using red, green, and blue. But if we can also sense infrared radiations or other portions of the spectra, we can get additional information. So for satellite sensing or remote sensing, what we usually do is, we fit a camera onto the satellite, and we will, the same concept can be extended to drones or any other platforms. Okay. So when we fit a camera, that camera will, along with red, green, blue cameras, or sometimes, red, green, blue cameras may not be there. So we can also have additional cameras or sensors which can also capture the infrared radiation. So this is the basic idea about, the images. So an image, if you zoom, you will get a pixel. You have combination of multiple pixels will give you an image. So there will be variations in the pixel values, and those will be like different shades of gray. If you have multiple images for multiple sensors which are sensitive to different wavelengths, then we can have like different bands. So like we have red, green, and blue band, we can also have additional infrared band or whatever, for whichever application we need, we can have those bands. Now that said about the images, what is remote sensing? Whatever you are currently doing is remote sensing, because you are watching the screen and you are getting the information about this. I mean, whatever I am displaying on the screen, you are getting that information without being in contact with that screen, right? So that means your eyes are doing remote sensing, your ears are doing remote sensing. Means remote sensing basically means you are collecting information about an object or phenomenon without being in contact with that object or phenomenon. You are remotely sensing it. So here you can see a satellite. So sun is shedding its rays. It is getting reflected back to these satellite sensors. So satellite sensors are capturing the reflected rays. So you can see that those reflected rays are being transformed into an image. So if you have say three sensors, one for red, one for green, one for blue, you will get a three-band image. If you have say four sensors, you will get four-band image. So each band corresponds to a spectral region for which the sensor is sensitive to. So this is the basic idea of remote sensing. And now, as I told, the spectra is really wide, but our eyes are only sensitive to the visible region. But with satellites, we will go more into infrared and other regions as well, because we may get some additional information from those part of the spectra. So now you can easily correlate this image. So this image means it's a color image, so it will be having say red, green, and blue reflectance, right? So you have red reflectance, you have green reflectance, and you have blue reflectance from say, so it's a three-band image. So the basic idea will be you have now a three-band image. Now each pixel, if I go to each pixel will have three values, one for red, one for green, one for blue. That means if each pixel denotes a region on the Earth surface, and what is the red reflectance coming from that area, what is the green reflectance coming from that area, what is the blue reflectance coming from that area, that information I'll get. And that information may be, maybe converted into a pixel form based on the radiometric resolution of this image. Maybe because reflectance, you can normalize it to 0 to 1, but you can have pixel values from 0 to 255. So that value will be converted into 0 to 255 range. So it's a basic idea of remote sensing. That's how you will get an image. So if you are using additional infrared sensors, you will also get that. Yeah, you'll also get that bands, spectral bands. So you have an image, you have pixels. Now you have here you can see that in our earlier image, this is a true color image. True color image means I have only red, green, and blue bands. So what I'll do is for display purpose, red is being fed to red, green is fed to green, and blue is fed to blue. But here you can see that I have an infrared band also, but I can only display three bands at a time. So what I do is, I select some three bands. That means green, red, and NIR. Green is fed to blue, red is fed to say green, and NIR is fed to red. See, you can use any combinations, but only thing is, here it is not the actual you can see that NIR is not fed to because we cannot display NIR as it is. Our eyes are only sensitive to red, green, and blue. So green is fed to say blue, red is fed to green, and NIR is um, fed to red. So basically, it will give you a color image, but here it is not true color. Here the vegetation appeared green because it is true color. Here what is happening is green is not fed to green. Green is actually fed to blue. So the greenness is actually denoted by the blueness. Redness is denoted by the greenness. And the NIR reflectance is denoted by the red value. So we can use any combinations, but this type of images are called false color composites. And usually, satellite images are being widely used for agriculture applications. And our eyes are very sensitive to the red color. So, and infrared is very sensitive to agriculture. I mean, they will reflect agriculture or vegetation will reflect. I mean, agriculture means, I mean, vegetation will reflect actually NIR a lot. So that means, you will get, if you want to understand or interpret the images in a very fine way for analyzing the vegetation, you can feed the NIR channel to red because our eyes are very sensitive to red color and NIR is very sensitive to, say, the vegetation. But suppose your aim is different. You want to do something else. You want to detect gold. So you can feed that channel which is sensitive to gold to red. I mean, just I mean, for a namesake example. Okay. So so what I'm trying to say is that it's up to us how we construct our false color composite. So usually when you see the image in red form or different colors, understand that may not be true color composite, maybe false color. That means you have an additional channel which is which is different from the red, green, and blue. So that said, you can have it is up to us how we will create those images, and also depends on what bands that satellite sensor provides us. So you have false color composite as well as true color composite. Okay. So now coming on to another point, you can see that this is an area. Okay. This is an area. I mean, this area is so basically this area I'm taking an image for this area. Okay. This is not an image. I mean, this is an area. I'm constructing the image using these grids. So that what does it mean? It means that this grid will form one pixel. This grid will form another pixel. This grid will form another pixel. Grids will have one value. Now, if I decreases those pixel sizes, grid sizes, so you can see that this more pixels now, say 4 pixels now. Now, if you see that one area, the energy from this entire area is converted. If it is red, green, and blue image, you will get 3 values for that area. I mean, reflectance of red, reflectance of green, reflectance of blue, but from this much area. In the next grid, you will get this value only from this smaller area. Next one, you will get from much more smaller area. So which is better? Actually, the smaller areas you focus, you can detect objects very clearly. For example, here you can see that you are focusing only on a larger area, right? So you will only get IFOV. I mean, so increase the, so basically we are, okay, so basically when we are increasing the resolution, we are getting more clarity. I hope it's clear. So if you see this image, you are focusing, I mean, your pixel sizes are very large. Now, as you reduce the pixel sizes, you will get more pixels for that area itself. So that means you will have more clarity. So this is called spatial resolution. So when you have higher spatial resolution, you will be able to detect more minute objects. So same way, if you have, say, only one band, say the spectral, only one band, you may not be, see, if I am giving you a wheat and barley image, you may not be able to, or you may not be able to detect it using an RGB image, because both of them will be almost same if they are, in that green stage. So that means you cannot, we may need more number of bands to distinguish um, the objects on the ground. So, and that should be very continuous. So for example, this image will sum set all. So you can see that, if I have one band, I have only one value across the spectrum. So this entire spectral range is denoted by one value. Now I'm splitting this entire spectral range into four values. This is called multispectral. And here continuous values. So this is, so basically this is like one pixel. I'm denoting here one pixel only. Okay. So here one pixel means only one value. I told you if it is an RGB image, one pixel means three values. You can compare these two pixels. At some point, the two pixels may behave differently. So distinguish between different basic idea of, spectral resolution and spatial resolution. But one thing that you need to understand very carefully is that, what is happening here, we are getting the energy from this large area, right? So we are getting a lot of energy. So if you want to split this energy into different bands, you have enough energy. But as you focus on more and more, finer spatial resolution, the energy coming from that area reduces because we are focusing on a smaller area. Correct. It means further we are reducing that area. So the energy is very less. So that means when you have finer spatial resolution, you focus on a smaller area, and that energy converting that into bands will give you only noise because the energy is very feeble. So when you have finer spatial resolution, you will have coarser spectral resolution. When you have better spectral resolution, that means you need a larger area to get a lot of energy. Automatically, it means you will have a coarser spatial resolution. So there is a trade-off between spatial and spectral resolution. That means if you need more number of continuous bands, so hyperspectral images will have poor spatial resolution. Multispectral images will have coarser spectral resolution, but better spatial resolution than hyperspectral images. Panchromatic images will have high spatial resolution, but very poor spectral resolution because they have only one band. Yeah. Now, what happens when we have, multiple, when we have coarser resolution? For example, if it is a hyperspectral image, you are receiving energy from this area, right? So this one big area will contain different objects, say trees, grass, soil, all these things. So these things are called mixed pixels because the one pixel, the energy coming from one pixel is a mix of all these different objects. But if you see here, it is coming only from soil. Okay. So these are like, the spectral mixing may happen here. So that is the basic idea of, spectral mixing. Spectral mixing means when you have coarser resolution, so you will cover a larger area. So what happens is like there are different objects and different objects or different features in that one area. So for example, here grass, tree, soil, so all these will contribute towards that pixel reflectance. So, but this may be like, so spectral unmixing actually means from that one value, you are estimating what is the value of each, how much grass is there. So you get only one value here. Maybe if it is an RGB image, you will get one pixel value with three values. So from that, if it is a hyperspectral image, you will get 200 values, but it is for only this pixel. Okay, so only one vector you are getting. So from that vector, can you estimate how much of grass is there, how much of tree is there, how much of soil is there? This is called spectral unmixing. Spectral mixing means, this process of more than one object reflectance getting mixed there. And unmixing means you got the image. Now you are trying to go beyond a pixel to understand what is inside that pixel. So usually, this is how we do that. And this is basically, there are linear mixing and nonlinear mixing. Linear mixing means the sunlight coming from the sensor is getting reflected by one material, and all these are getting combined at the sensor. But when it comes to non-linear mixing, you can see that it is getting two times reflected. Like you can see that some in some cases, no, this is linear mixture. This one, in this case, you can see that it is striking on to one material, it is striking on to another material, then it is going back. So there is a non-linear mixing happening. So just to understand, okay, so because linear mixing usually happens if the objects, or if there are macroscopic objects or bigger scale objects, but non-linear mixing happens when you have intimate mixtures like minerals. Okay, so the light will come, it will fall on one mineral, it will go and maybe strike on another mineral, then only it will go back. So that means you will have a non-linear combination of the spectra of all these two minerals, which will be reaching at the sensor. So this is the basic idea of spectral mixing. It's not that complicated, if you can simply imagine in this way. So you are covering a, an area. That area will contain different materials. So each of these material spectra will be mixed together to give you this pixel spectrum. Okay. See, pixels are the fundamental units. So I'll get only one value for one pixel. One value in the sense that one vector for one pixel. Okay. So we cannot split that pixel. So if that pixel is having multiple objects, all the reflectance will be combined together to give you a pixel reflectance. So this is the mixing part. So now, if, for example, if suppose you want to do mineral mapping an area, so you need different data sources, right? You need geological data, you need geochemical data, geophysical data, all these different. You can also have remote sensing data, historical data. All these are some of the examples of data sources. Also, we need to understand what are the peculiarities of each of these data sources. Okay, that's also very important. So now, I mean, you can capture point data. You can also use a drone. You can use satellite images. You can go there on the ground, collect samples. This is for one such application, but we can do it for any such application. So first and foremost thing is you collect all the data, different data, whatever you want. Maybe you need satellite images. Maybe you need a digital elevation model. Maybe you need, additional UAV data, or maybe other information. So now what you do is you pre-process this data, you bring all of them to a same scale, then you do data integration and assimilation. I mean, then you can use some machine learning models. You can feed on data to these machine learning models to get your analysis or your results, whatever you want to do. So it depends on our particular application. So whatever we want to do, we can do it. So now, in conventional models, basically, if suppose you will use like conventional models, so what is the idea of the conventional models? Conventional models means if suppose we are doing something, we go to a geology person or a physics a scientist from a physics background, they may not be working on machine learning models. They may be working on some hypotheses or some theories, right? Based on that, they will give the values. When they input the values, they will get some output. So based on some theory, they have formulated a model. So they already have a model with them that may be based on some underlying theory, right? Now you will give the data to that model. Model will give the output. Don't get confused with the machine learning model. This is like a basic, so because we use some equations or some in our physics class and other things, right? So same way, there is a fundamental assumption. There are some hypotheses. Based on that, we will form a model. We give data to the model, we get the output. This is like traditional models, but training these models, uh, because all these assumptions, getting them from the data, training these parameters, it is somewhat very difficult. Okay. So what we usually do is, we use machine learning strategies. In AI-based models also, if it's a rule-based system, I mean, this type of rule-based systems can also be there. But for example, if suppose you are building an AI-based doctor, so what does it mean? It means, you have the doctor will have certain set of rules. So if symptoms is this, and this, you will give this medicine, right? This is more of a rule-based strategy. So when a patient comes who is not having this, stored symptoms, the doctor will fail. So instead, can we learn those things? So that is where, you have machine learning models, which are different from the rule-based AI models. Okay. And these conventional models can also be considered as rule-based models. That rules are based on certain hypotheses or certain theories. Now, our idea is that, machine learning models basically means that you give the input and data. I mean, you give the input and expected output, and you are trying to find out the model. See, in earlier cases, the model was known to you. You will just give based on that hypothesis. Your model is ready. You will just give the data. You will get but here we are learning the model. Model basically means the mapping between input and output data. So that we are giving, and we are trying to find a mapping. So that mapping will be our machine learning model. So it will basically transform the inputs to outputs. So when we talk about machine learning models, there are different types of models, but basically there are, two types of models. So supervised machine learning models, which means that you give, when we were kids, we were being given apples, right? So what they will do, they will say, this is apple, and they will show another apple, this is apple. Then they will show another apple, say, this is apple. Then they will show an orange, fed up with all these things, will say, this is apple. Then they will say that, no, this is wrong, this is not apple. So you are being presented with positive and negative samples of apples, so that you will learn how an apple look like, right? So you may be learning that based on the features of an apple, maybe the color, the smell, all these things, right? So each apple is a point in that feature space. So this you will try to transform. You will learn a mapping function which will transform these feature values onto label. Label is whether apple or not. So same way, if suppose you are being given an image, right? So I told you, if it's a hyperspectral image, one pixel will have a spectra like this, right? A vector of values. So you want to classify that. I mean, you want to have a machine learning model which will predict the label. What we usually do, we'll train it with, you know, we'll give the input and expected label. We'll train it so that it will learn how to map that spectra, which is the pixel vector, to the expected label. So initially, when the parameters are not known for the model, it will predict wrong results. Now that will give an error, and slowly this will get updated. So basically, this is the idea. So you are giving an input. You are basically learning a function. This is a linear function. Okay, you can also have non-linear functions. So it will predict a label. Now this A0, A1, A2 are all the coefficients. Now, when we get the error, we will adjust these coefficients in such a way that the error will get minimized. So it's a basic idea of a machine learning model for predicting a class label. So when we are doing so, what are we doing? We are trying to find a decision surface which will separate the data into two classes. So for example, if it is a neural network model, so what we do is during the forward pass, based on that, initial parameter values, it will predict some value, say y dash. Now we know what is the expected value, that is y. So we will take a difference between y and y dash, and we will back propagate it. That means we will adjust these weights so that the error will be minimum. We'll do this many times. So what are we doing? So first, when we are doing it, it will be, somewhere here. So slowly, the decision surface will become perfect. So yeah, so basically this is what, the classification surfaces do, but we may need more complex surfaces. May not be like, for example, if your data green, green points are one class, and the other color points are another class. So you can see that a linear decision surface like this cannot separate them, right? So we need more complicated decision surfaces. Linear decision surface means you are using a line to separate these two classes. It worked here, but it will not work if the data is, in a non-linear form. I mean, like this, right? So you may need more and more complex surfaces. So for that, basically you are adding, that means you are making it more and more non-linear. So that means in a neural network perspective, you are going with more and more layers. So when you have, say, shallow neural network models, you can say that these are lightweight models. But when you go for more and more layers, we say that this is like, you are modeling a very complicated surface. Now, when we are, so this is your actual feature, okay? So band 1, band 2. Now, we can also learn features in such a way that, I mean, we can synthesize certain features. Like, for example, here feature 1 is band 1 plus band 2, feature 2 is band 1 minus band 2. You can see that I'm synthesizing some new features so that, the data became separable in that new feature space. See? Earlier, maybe I have height and weight, but now I have height plus weight, height minus weight, new feature. Sometimes it may become more separable here. So here you can see that I have extracted a new feature, right? So can we make the machine itself to learn this type of new features where data may be more separable? So that is where, we use more layers for neural network type of thing. So basic idea is that, so in our earlier machine learning models, you have the primary data. You yourself will sit down and extract the features. Like for example, apple. Apple means when you want to give an apple to a machine learning model, you will say, okay, now the machine learning will use smell as a feature, size as a feature, color as a feature, taste as a feature, right? These are given by you. But what if the machine can learn it? I mean, machine may learn some features which can better distinguish apple from non-apples. So usual machine learning strategies are like you are taking the features and you are giving these features to the learning algorithm or your model, and then it will predict you, it will give you the output. But what if, this is called feature engineering. That means you are developing your own features, okay? From Apple, you are not giving Apple as exactly Apple, but you are extracting the features of Apple and giving to the model. Now, in deep learning, you are just giving the data based on you are not doing any feature engineering. The learning algorithm learns both the features as well as the mapping. Earlier, the features were given by us, mapping was learned by the model. Here, both features as well as mapping are learned by the model. Will be very clear with this, I mean, neural network architecture. We can see that we are giving inputs here. So each layer we will get new features, right? You can see that here, this is a combination of all these features, right? This is another combination of these features. So same way, here I did feature 1 equal to band 1 plus band 2, feature 2 equal to band 1 minus band 2. Here also I am getting a non-linear combination of all these features. Here another non-linear combination of all these features. So now I got a new feature here. That feature again we are feeding it. We are using them to generate another set of features. So like this, you will generate a set of features which can better distinguish one class from the other. Okay, that is one thing. Yeah. Now, see, you can use neural network for learning features, like I told you. So you can use different layers. Now, once you learn these features, new features, what you're doing is you are taking those features and then you are feeding to a mapping network, which will map. So if it is a neural network or something, you can have this end-to-end learning, like it will have features, it will learn features and map those features to, basically your labels or whatever you want to predict. The basic problem is, for example, for certain context, right? For certain applications, yes, deep learning is good enough. There is no problem. But for example, in some complicated applications where we don't have exact ground truth data, that means I don't have a data to train it. I need a training data, right? I need to give some inputs. I should know for those inputs what are the expected outputs. So if that is not known, then then basically there is a problem. We cannot use deep learning for those aspects, but there is a way out. What we do, we learn the features from the data, and then we use those features in some normal classifiers. For example, you use a network. This is one neural network. It will encode this data into one form. Now another neural network will basically reconstruct this data. So what are we getting? We are getting some features here. So I am learning these features. Now I can use these features instead of actual features. So for example, if I can use an encoder decoder type of a network where it will look like this. Okay, your earlier network, here we are directly using it for classification. Here we are again passing it for reconstruction. So I give an input, I want to get the input back. So in this process, I'm learning this hidden representation. Now instead of using x1, x2, x3, x4, x5, I'll simply use h1, h2. So you can see that we can learn the features. You take an image, you train it to reconstruct the spectra. Now you use these features for classification. Or you can also, again, when you use this classification, still you need some labels, right? If you have fewer labels, you can use some normal classifiers. But if suppose you don't have labels at all, you can go for clustering type of mechanisms or unsupervised machine learning, where you will do that clustering. Or unsupervised means what? When in childhood, when someone is giving us some fruits, they are not giving any other information. We may just group them based on the color. So we may think that, okay, whichever green are not ripened, whichever green are, whichever not green are ripened, whichever green are not ripened, whichever green are ripened, right? So this type of, based on some similarity, we may have different groups. So that depends on the feature. Basically, what property we are using, it depends on the features that are being used. So now we can use, instead of actually doing this unsupervised machine learning in the actual feature space, we can do it using unsupervised ML. Yeah. Okay. So now you can have a clustering in a learned feature space. That means instead of using the actual features, you may use, the learned features. So you can use different clustering techniques, say maybe, uh, um, the self-organizing maps or any other, So, but, so what are we discussing so far? What were we discussing so far? So we were discussing that we will get some data. Maybe it's a spatial data, like it can be satellite image or a drone image, or it can also be a vector data, but we focus more on the raster data. Now, when you have the data, okay, once you have the data, you can feed it to the machine learning model to do some analysis with that data, right? Sorry. But always ML algorithms requires a caution, because see, I'll give you one example. Okay, so if I'm using a model to detect cats and dogs, okay, and I have, say, white cats and black dogs. So I'm using this as a training data, white cats and black dogs, and I'm giving a black cat during the testing phase. Then it will detect it as a dog if the model is using color as a feature. So that means when the model is learning features by itself, we don't know what features it is learning. It may sometimes learn unwanted features like color, which is not relevant in distinguishing cat and dogs, right? It should learn some other features, but we don't know. We have a deep model. We don't know what is being learned. And also when we go for presentations with this people from science backgrounds, um, so the basic problem everyone faces is that, okay, your algorithm is working for this data, but what it is learning actually. So that is another problem, right? So we don't know. It's a complete black box model. So we need to bridge the gap between conventional models and ML models, and also it should be correlatable with the underlying processes. So we can actually go for, physics inspired, or we can try modeling the underlying processes. And also we need to ensure the quality of the samples. This is also very important. And as I told you, what a model is learning is also very important. Also, we need to model the characteristic features. Very clear from this one. So you can see that the dotted line represents, see, for example, if suppose I'm using a model to map a given spectra to a mineral. So here when I'm training it, so this dotted lines denotes the actual features. Like for example, these are the actual features that I know should be present in that mineral. But whatever that coloration shows, that are the features being learned by the model. So that means I am actually, I'm building a classifier. And now once a classifier is trained, I am trying to explain that classifier as what features it is giving importance to. For example, in our earlier example of cat and dog, we are just checking what all features it is giving importance to. So if it is giving importance to the color, then we will say that no, it's not a good model. It may give good accuracy because the data is like that, right? For that data, it may give good accuracy, but internally we should understand what that model is learning. So for this, we have different approaches. One simple example we can consider is Shapley. It's a very simple model. Okay, so it means like you think of a model prediction as a collaborative game where each feature value is a player. Okay, now it enters room one at a time in a random order, and when it enters, okay, it affects that. You can see that here when we are giving xi this particular feature, and we are removing xi, so what is the basic difference we are getting in our outcome? So that means that much influence that feature is having in that outcome. So so it means like if you want to check the importance of a person, you can just see that how many people will stand up when he enters a room. So if you have a couple of people, what you do, you will make one person to enter the room one at a time, and you see how that is getting changed, how the room atmosphere is getting changed. So same way, how the prediction is getting changed, we can this is a very simple way of doing it. Also, one another way is lime, where you can fit a less complicated model like a linear regressor or something, or a classifier, simple classifier, to some portions, to some data sets, and you can explain that model with respect to those portions. So it is for those local portions we can explain. So these are the different ways in which we can explain a given model. So now, if suppose you want to actually work on go more deep into this, saying that we have to, for example, I told you here for this particular example, it should consider which are the positions, which are the features, right? So in that case also, we can model these features. One attempt that we did was like we tried to model these features as capsules. And so capsule is nothing but a group of neurons. So one group of neurons will represent one feature. So we can use Shapley as a loss function or something to make sure that it is learning the actual features. See, Shapley usually we use as a post hoc method. That means after classification, after a model is trained, we will use it to explain that particular classifier. But you can also do it in the other way around. Like we can use it for learning meaningful features. So two things. One is once a model learns some things, you will test it what it has learned. This is called post hoc approach. And other one, you'll make the model itself to learn meaningful features. Okay. So here it is neurons. Here it is a group of neurons. So each neuron will correspond to say one feature. So you can see that, this is more example. So we can understand if you use Shapley or something, we can understand what features our model is giving importance to and what features are actually important. Okay. Now, we 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 got to know about the classification, how a model can be made interpretable in classification, right? So same way, I told you we have, a hyperspectral image will have a coarse spatial resolution. Now, how can we improve that coarse spatial resolution? So we can use, an autoencoder type of network, which will take this, encode it, and it will project it to a better resolution, right? So now the concept is that, okay, you have a low resolution image, your network will give you a high resolution image. But what are the features that it is learning? So this is not only applicable for discriminative networks, but also applicable for generative networks or these type of networks where we can use them to enhance the resolutions. So So this is a simple example. If you have a signal, right? Signal means you have a simple signal. Okay. So you have amplitude versus time. So you have amplitude, you have time on the x-axis, amplitude on the y-axis, right? Now, now the problem, now, you can actually think of this one signal as a combination of multiple signals, right? Multiple small signals. So that means a signal having a frequency f1 is multiplied by some weight, and then you take a signal having a frequency f2, you multiply that also with some weight, and you add all of them together to get your complicated signal. So that means like this, right? So you will get a complicated signal. Same way, you can also consider image as a two-dimensional signal where the amplitude is varying with respect to x and y locations. So in there, it is like a one-dimensional signal because amplitude is varying with respect to time. Here, amplitude is varying with respect to rows and columns. So you can think of this as a weighted combination of patches. So you take a weighted combination of patches. So that will actually give you, I mean, so the actual patch. Okay. So basically, these are all the same, like these are the underlying base signals. Here, these are the underlying base signals for that image or the you can say that these are the dictionaries for that image. Okay. So they will combine together to get this actual image patches. So we can think in this way also. So if I have these three, I can generate any patch of this image. That means I can take a different weighted combination to get different patches. So you have coefficients or weights. They are multiplied by these atoms to get the actual complicated image patch. So this is like, different examples. So you can have different for an image, you can have different, say, bases, maybe Fourier bases or wavelet bases, which will combine together to form the actual image. Okay. So these are some of the examples I took from internet. So this is um, now, if you actually think about it, okay. So what are we doing in this process? We are taking a low resolution dictionary. We are projecting that, we are actually building this dictionary as the basis. Dictionary means the basis. Okay. So what are we doing is we take an image, we get the dictionaries. Now from the dictionaries, we get the sparse codes, and now we combine those sparse codes with the high resolution dictionaries to get the super resolved hypercube. Like, so same way, we can also go for spectral super resolution. That means this is spatial super resolution. You can also go for spectral super resolution, where you can also, do the improvement in the spectral direction. Here, you can do it in the spatial direction. Basic idea is that, you get an actual image. Now you learn its dictionaries and coefficients. Now these dictionaries are like, are the details, right? So now the same dictionaries, I mean, you will also learn the dictionaries for the high resolution patch. And now we map the low resolution image to that high resolution image using these patches. Or even simply you can think of it as an autoencoder, type of approach, where you have an encoder which will get you an encoded form, and then there will be a decoder which will give back the image. But what is actually happening within this autoencoder, that is what I was saying, it learns the basis and it will reconstruct those high resolution images. Okay. Same thing we can do for the, for upscaling spectrally also, there is no problem. Now you can also have graph-based processing, so now we are talking about, these models, right? Already we explained in detail how we can make, discriminative models interpretable, right? So either you can explain it using Shapley type of thing, or you can add Shapley to a loss function so that it will learn significant features. Now, see, Shapley is very primary thing. I mean, we can go for more advanced versions of that. Okay, so or you can also go for the anti-hoc way of approaches. Now, for resolution enhancement or reconstruction for generative AI also, you can correlate it with techniques such as sparse coding and mixing and other things, because here simply it is, it is encoding and it is decoding, right? But can't we go beyond that level to correlate it with the actual processes? This is what we call it as, physics inspired or modeling of underlying processes. Okay. So upscaling spectrally also we can do it. Now we also do some graph-based processing, because if you have say graphs, then it is easily, you can understand what are they actually learning. So they are more of like an inherently explainable type of models. This can easily model the spatial relations, and also we can use them for modeling the spectral relations. So these are some of the, examples where we used graphs. And also you can, as I told you, see, it's basically an encoder decoder type of network, right? So we can also use multi-model data fusion type of approaches, where we combine multiple data sets and we project them to, we project them to a common representation, and we use them to predict the labels. Now, data augmentation part also, like for example, if I'm generating a new spectra, for example, if I want to classify the minerals in a particular area, but I may only get some USGS or some spectra, some library spectra, right? That may not be enough to train my model. So can we do some data augmentation to understand what features are the characteristic features of that particular mineral? And then we can, basically go ahead and we can try to change other features and keep these features preserved so that we can get the data. It is not only in that spectral direction, but also we can model the distribution in the spatial direction so that it will give us a valid distribution. Okay. Yeah. So these are some of the works where we try to use, model the underlying processes for data augmentation part. So you will get, different patches. You can generate hypercubes. Also, spectral unmixing, we told last time, that also we can, so when you are mapping that a given image into abundance, right? Basically, what are you doing? You are trying to separate, at each pixel what is there, right? So if it is linear or non-linear unmixing, both the cases, we are just trying to understand what is there at each pixel. So that part will have two outputs. One is like, what are the pure elements? Like for example, in our earlier example, it would be like soil, tree, and soil, tree, and grass. And so these are the pure elements there, right? Now, we also need what is the area being occupied by each of these pure elements at each pixel. So this is the outcome of, spectral unmixing. So it will give you both what are the n members there, or what are the pure elements there, and what are the, abundance of each of these pure n members. Yeah. So this is basically, you can use again this Shapley or other explainability techniques at an ad hoc mechanism, just to, just to make this model learn important features. Okay, that is very important. So we see it when you see this, it will be simple auto encoder decoder, right? Encoder decoder. So now we are applying some constraints. We are changing the architecture in such a way that it will learn the n-member spectra. We compare that with the n-member spectra. Also, it will try to model the spatial distributions. These are all, the how we can extend this to spectral mixing. So we have did it for Chandrayaan 2 data, and we got some abundance map associated. Abundance maps means you need to understand, it's a clinopyroxene. All these are different minerals. They are the N members, or they are the pure things which are there, like our grass, tree, and soil. So same way here we have these minerals. These are the pure elements. Okay, now they will non-linearly mix to give the surface reflectance. So now when we do unmixing, we will first try to understand what are these minerals. I mean, what are these minerals and how much area is being occupied by them at each pixel. So you can see that here I am giving a coloration. So it will vary from, some values. So basically it means like, it's a high concentration will be denoted by the red color and others will be denoted by, I mean, it will range from blue to red. So basically in an ML background, when we apply these things onto EO data, so usually if you take just a model and you apply the data, okay, it will work for your data, but it may not be acceptable for the community. So community is always looking for, a reproducible um, and a more reliable or interpretable way of interpretable models and which can actually, model the underlying processes. Also, when you model the exact features, your requirement of training sample itself will reduce. So this is actually our team. Yeah. So these are some of the publications. So we have one project in this regard where we do it for, the spectral unmixing and super resolution of IRS data. IRS data basically means, you have that hyperspectral data. So of course, you know that when it is hyperspectral data, it will be like coarse resolution. So, and also these minerals are very like nonlinear mixtures, right? So how can we use that uh, to to basically improve, I mean, to estimate the abundances. So that is one theme of this project. We have also one NRF project, which is like, a generic spatial data warehousing. I have shown you that graph-based approaches, right? So basically, we want to, query a satellite image and get some outcomes directly from that satellite image based querying. So that is where we work on with this project. And we have, also another project with the where we try to develop this super resolution type of, sorry, super resolution type of models, and we try to try to embed that onto hardware. So because it should be more reliable, it should be more, we should model the underlying processes because then only, because once you, if you want to deploy it in hardware, it should be lightweight and it should work properly. So we also work with different other organizations. Yeah, that's all from my side. I know that it is being a monotonic talk. So if any of you have any doubts or something to discuss, please feel free to ask. Thank you.
Dear participants, so it's a question answer session. So you can post your questions in the chat or you can raise your hands. Yeah, sir, we have a question from a participant. Can we use dimensionality reduction in explainable models? Will it help to enhance feature enhancement?
Yeah, actually you can use it. The only thing is I told you it will be again like an, encoder decoder type of approach, right? So first and foremost thing is when you are reconstructing it, you should be aware what is the underlying reconstruction process. So if you are able to model it well and good, no problem. So that is where, because if you use PCA or something, right? It's like a linear, I mean, it's a linear feature extraction technique. So you have different combinations of bands, you will get different PCs, right? But here we are actually learning those nonlinear mapping. You are actually you have some set of input features, and now you are transforming those features non-linearly to another set of features. So you can do the dimensionality reduction, ensuring that this transformation is proper. It is preserving the diagnostic features, because what if this transformation process is not giving importance to those features which are diagnostic to a particular mineral or a particular object or something. Okay, right.
Thank you, sir. So the next question is, how do we validate whether an explanation from a model is actually correct or reliable?
Yeah, correct. So this is one of the important tasks. So we actually need to correlate it with the expertise of a domain expertise. For example, I have shown you one spectra, right? In that spectra, there are dotted lines, and we can also see what the machine is learning, right? So these dotted lines basically means like we have asked some expert, our team of experts are there. They told, okay, if this is the mineral, this will be the features which are actually there. Now, once you understand those features, you can, so that is one way of doing it. Another way which we recently are trying is like, can you automatically detect these features? So that means, see, if suppose we look at a particular room, all of us will be wearing different t-shirts, right? So t-shirt is not a defining point of distinguishing a human being, correct? Because it is varying. So same way, we can see which all features are varying across a class highly, and we only use those features which are not varying much. So that means they will be like diagnostic features. For example, our ears, all of us have ears, right? So same way, if we have eyes, so that means these are the diagnostic features which can distinguish a human from some other things, right? So this way we can basically, we can see, we can evaluate. There are different ways of doing it. But one concrete way is you talk to the expert, you try to see what you want. For example, in our example of cat and dog, I told you, right? Color is not a feature. So we know that, okay, color is not a feature. So same way you can, yeah, do this. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. We have another question from a next participant. Sir, how SHAP differs from concept bottleneck? Am I
I
audible?
really, yeah, I really don't, I mean, don't know about this concept bottleneck. Maybe, we usually work on Shapley Lime and other things. I haven't heard about it. Yeah. So, but if you want, I'll just check and we'll let you know. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, sir.
So Shapley basically means like, there are different explainability techniques. Shapley and Lime, all these things are like, so you train a model, you got the model trained. Now you just, see what features are influencing that model decisions. This is the underlying process. If it is for, for Lime or something, you are just trying to understand the same thing by fitting a smaller model, okay, a simple model. Because if it is a linear regression, based on the coefficient values, you can understand which feature is being given higher weightage, right? So you fit a, linear regression technique or a linear or a simple classifier to this one portion of this model. I mean, portion means some data sets, and you try to see what it is learning. So this is line, and Sharp actually do the feature importance. Okay. So there are other methods such as occultation type of things. So where also the concept is almost the same. Basically, you are understanding the feature importance. I don't know about this exact wording that you asked. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. There's a question from other participant. Is it possible to get Indian hyperspectral satellite image dataset?
No, actually, the blanket answer is no, but because we don't have an operating sensor and HISIS data, they say it is available, but we have tried it. It is not, available, or it's not very useful. That's what we understood. I mean, we couldn't get that data. So mostly we work on this benchmark type of data sets, and we can hope that, that some satellites will be launched soon. We'll get that hyperspectral coverage, and there is Adversarial data, okay, which is like, a collaborative effort between NASA and ISRO, and they have collected, airborne data from different locations. So if you go to the Puvan website, if you just search average NG data, you will get that data. So that data is available, but it is not a live data because it was captured over a particular, I mean, over different regions over a particular time period. Okay, yeah.
Thank you, sir. We have a participant raising hand. Yes, Deepali ma'am, you can unmute yourself and you can go ahead with the question.
Hello. Sir, my question is how can model explanation helps to detect false alarms or misclassification in land cover mapping?
Yeah, so basically, when we do a misclassification, how are we doing it? How we will actually, check misclassification based on the confusion metrics, right? So confusion metrics or accuracy measures, maybe, so, but these are not considering the features, or these are not considering the, basically all those measures, just they work based on the data. They are not considering what feature it is learning, right? All these things they are not considering. So what we can do is, okay, we'll get the misclassification from there, but actually what the model is learning. Is it learning well? Because sometimes for the given data, the confusion matrix may be quite well, but it may not be learning the actual features. So it is one step ahead of this type of accuracy analysis, where usually accuracy analysis will not check the what the model is learning, what is the underlying process. So that can be extended using this type of approaches. That's the basic idea. Right.
Thank you, sir.
So we have a question from next participant. From where I will get the water related remote sensing data?
Yeah, actually, I don't usually work on water related areas. So I'm not highly aware of it. But one thing that you can do is like, this average NG data that I have told you, this data is collected for different applications. So that means, so for agriculture, water related applications, so they focused on different areas based on applications. So you can also get those data from them. But otherwise, we may have to rely on whatever, open source data is available, or if some benchmark data sets are available.
Thank you, sir.
Sir,
Yeah.
I have a question. Which type of autoencoder will be more suitable for EO data analytics?
Yeah, actually, like I told, any autoencoder, like say, for example, if you want it more to be a mathematical modeling thing, you can go for, say, modeling the like variational autoencoders. You can model the distribution as well. But the crux of the story is very clear. Like you have to understand, what that model is learning. So either you can
Okay.
go for a mathematical type
So
of
is
approach.
the
Yeah,
okay, sir. So
it's up to
denoising
us.
autoencoder will help. Okay, okay.
Yeah.
So denoising
So
autoencoder will be more useful for such type of problem statements.
correct. And so basically, we need to think, we cannot give a blanket solution because it depends on the applications and what exactly we want to learn. Because if you go for more complicated models, right, interpretation will be very difficult. So we need to see, there is a trade-off between interpretability and accuracy. So even if it is a very, complicated model, how can we interpret it? That's a, main question. So there, what we usually do is if there is a simple alternative by which we can model it, then we'll go for that. But if suppose that is not enough for that particular application, then we can go for, because for example, when I tried a simple autoencoder with these constraints, like I told you, anti hoc sharply, right? It may not work. It may take a lot of time. So now I will see
Yes, sir.
what exactly I can do. For example, it may not work anywhere near, a good approach for the super resolution type of approaches. Now, so I moved into a sparse coding type of approach and correlating that with it's also an encoder, autoencoder, but the architecture, the concepts, all these things will be different. Yeah,
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
no problem. Thank you.
So we have a question from a participant. Can we use Google Map images as ground truth data?
Can you repeat the question, ma'am?
Can we
One second.
use Google Map images as ground truth data?
Actually, there is one problem of using, Google Map images directly because you may not be having a georeferencing option. If you can georeference it, well and good, no problem. But if you are not georeferencing it, you know so if you're not georeferencing it, so basically you, because if you take a screenshot, a Google Map doesn't allow you to download the data as such, right? But one big thing we can do is we can digitize it, or we can extract the shape files, then we can use that as a ground truth. Instead of different layers we can use as a ground truth, but the raster data itself as a ground truth will be problem, because when you take the screenshot of that Google Earth image, actually you are losing all those spectral properties, right? So you are not getting the actual image. It is giving you some other things. Maybe the color is same, but it may not convey you that, the spectral fidelity is lost there. So yeah. But if you know that location, right? If you are getting a satellite image, you can go to the Google Earth. If that satellite image is of the same year as that of Google Earth acquisition, you can go there and you can check what type of a land cover is there. Then you can prepare, that ground truth based on that. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Sir, there is a next question from participant. If we have hyperspectral image along with the ground truth, is it possible to get exact area coverage of an object using spectral unmixing technique?
Yes, that is what actually we may not have a ground truth. So that's the problem. Because for example, if we are using it for Chandrayaan data, we don't know what is the actual mineral composition there. So we may not have a ground truth. That's the main problem. If you have a ground truth in the sense that you know what all minerals are present there, still to some extent you can have a good result. But we should not expect it like a perfect classification for benchmark data sets. Okay, these all are very dirty data because it's not very clean data. So what happens is like so there will be some noises, so that noises will be learned as features, right? So our model may not be focusing on the actual features. So these are some of the challenges, but if you have hyperspectral image, you can definitely do the spectral unmixing. And but the ground truth is a problem, so we usually go for unsupervised spectral unmixing, where we can provide some prior, maybe in Chandrayaan data, if you see there are some, I have used 4 or 5 minerals, right? So they are the minerals which are being which are more in the sense that which can be better detected using this range of Chandrayaan IRS sensor. Okay, so that idea is required for us, some prior information we need to do it. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. So the next question from the participant, can you share an example where we have to choose more interpretable model instead of a high accuracy model?
Yeah. For example, if it is a sensitive application, like in the case of a medical application, right? Your model is learning something, but what exactly are your model learning? For example, a model is predicting something based on some features, but that model predicted like, okay, you have some disease or you don't have a disease, but what is it using actually? So this is very important. In medical, in defense sectors, because you developed a model, you are deploying that model somewhere, not only in defense sector, any real-time applications, if you are deploying a model, you are only testing it for as a particular given data. So that doesn't ensure that the model is correct model. So if suppose I developed 3 models, how can I compare these models? One is based on the accuracy. But as I told you, that may not be a good enough measure because it's not giving you the reliability, because accuracy may be a function of the data, but what feature it is learning, how can you make it to learn the exact feature? So that is something which we need to think about.
Thank
Any
you, sir.
sensitive application for that, for example, even when you are detecting minerals also, right? So maybe a given model will predict that there is this mineral, but sometimes it may be wrong because it may not be using that actual feature. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Sir, there is next question from participant. What will be workflow if we want to use quantum SVM for land use, land cover classification?
See, I haven't used quantum SVM, so I cannot answer this question directly. But if you want to use SVM or any other classifier, just use an autoencoder to learn those features, and you can apply that in that learned feature space. Okay, because there you can actually reduce the dimension or all those things you can do, like we explained there. Because some cases, if you just want to use an end-to-end deep learning network, it may not be always possible because you don't have the ground truth, right? So you use an unsupervised learning to understand the understand that hidden representation or latent representation. Use that latent representation instead of your actual features to classify. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. So, dear participants, is there any other questions? You can raise your hands, you can unmute yourself, or you can post the question in the chat.
Sir, can you brief out your projects, current projects, whatever you displayed in our last slides, sir? Brief out.
Pardon? Can you repeat, ma'am?
Current projects, whatever you displayed in the last 2 slides, sir. Brief.
Yeah. So yeah, okay. So basically, see, we have 2 ISRO projects. One for developing an embeddable model. So basically, it is like super resolution or spectral super resolution fusion. I explained here, right? So how can we develop algorithms for these things? Modeling the underlying processes. So so basically, you may have to model the mixing process and other underlying processes to have a proper reconstruction. So it also involves spectral unmixing. So basically, if I'll give you a hyperspectral image, or can you enhance its spatial resolution? If I'll give you a multispectral image, can you enhance its spectral resolution? If I'll give you both multispectral and hyperspectral image, can you fuse them? or with other modalities? Can you fuse them without the need for cross-domain samples? So all these are one project, and there we also try to embed that onto a hardware. Like for example, the model when we develop, if it's a very bulky model, you may not be able to embed that. So there is an optimization strategy that you have to use it. One of that is like how explainable or how reliable the model is. So those we try to do, and that's one project. And then there is another one from ISRO, which where we use the Chandrayaan data, Chandrayaan 2 data. We try to use it for mapping the geological composition of the lunar surface. And see, basically, I am from a computer science background, but we have an expert team of geology side like Professor Alok Porwal. So they help us in basically understanding this domain. Okay, so yeah, that is one. These are the two projects. Then one more, we work with ANRF, that is a core research grant project. There we actually try to say, for example, if a disaster is happening, so can you use all these available data there to immediately answer some queries or do some predictions? We apply that for landslide susceptibility mapping and open area monitoring. So we develop a particular framework which can use the available data, all available data, and can get the answers in a matter of seconds. That's one thing. Also, we do some other projects with other agencies, but more or less all these are like either how you can fuse the data for certain applications and others. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
No problem. Thank you.
Any other question from the participant? Okay, fine. Okay, sir.
Good evening. There is a one question is there.
Yeah.
Sir, can we consider bilateral model or transformer-based model for the explainable AI model?
Yeah, actually, see, as I told you, when your model is more complicated, it is very difficult for us to, explain it. So that is where people are trying nowadays to basically attention models are self-explainable because we are learning that attention, what weightage they give to each feature, right? So attention model is also a direction in which we can actually do the explainability. So they are also a part of like inherently explainable models. But when it becomes very complicated, it may be a little bit difficult to interpret them. The way that we discuss using simple Shapley or something may not work actually. So that is where we need to change their architecture, put some constraints. Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions?
Sir, can you consider then image captioning as an explainable AI model?
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Because image captioning, we are actually learning some features, right? So what are those features being learned? That is very important actually. Even actually this explainability came, first time for face detection and other things because they want to understand what features are the models giving importance to. Okay. Then that concepts only we are extending and maybe we are adapting it to other domains.
And one last question is here.
Yeah.
Sir, here we have this feature selection and feature extraction in machine learning. So
Correct.
is it required that we have to apply feature selection or feature extraction methods when you apply the deep learning model on a particular data set?
Okay. So the basic idea is that, if it is feature engineering means we get a set of features. From the data, we got a set of features. Now, if suppose I have say a 1,000 band image, 400 band image, right? So one pixel will have 400 values. Am I using all these 400 values or am I using only certain values? So if suppose I know that my training samples are less. So if I use 400, I may not be able to train it properly. Then what I can do is like I can just do feature selection. Feature selection means if suppose I'm planning to detect gold. So I will just see that, which are the bands which are sensitive to gold. Okay. Now, once I do that, this is one way. Another way is like PCA type of feature extraction techniques, where we are extracting new features from the given features. Okay. Like I told you, say band one plus band two, band one minus band two. Now, all these things we are doing, machine is not doing, right? Now, in deep learning, the machine itself will find the new features. So, whether we need new features or not, it actually depends on our data. the data separability. If the data is well and good, if it is linearly separable, there is no need of going for all these, deep learning type of models. You can simply use any simple classifier. But if suppose the data is not linearly separable and data is highly complex, then only we may have to go for, because the conventional models are explainable inherently. Okay. Only thing is they may not give accuracy for complicated cases, but they are explainable. So the summary is that, you can go for explainability provided you have, a complicated model and the features are being learned by the network, because then only you need to understand. If you are directly giving the features, then no problem. Okay. Yeah, I hope, sir, I answered it. If you have still
Means sir, it totally depends on the data set, right?
data set, correct. See, actually, if your data is very small, right? If your data is, you just plot the data and see if it is small and easily separable, you can use any separability score, and you just see if it is separable, easily separable, and you don't go for, deep learning type of methods. You can simply go for any method. And if you already know that, okay, this particular feature will give me more separability, you can directly do that. Okay. But see, for example, PCA, sometimes PCA will work better than, deep learning type of approaches, because a linear combination of features will be enough. But if suppose that linear transformation is not enough, you want to learn that actual transformation, better we can go for, another, deep learning based approaches where the machine will learn those features. But the problem there is we don't know what the machine is learning. That is where we need to use explainability.
Means here, before applying deep learning model, here we can apply this feature engineering step as a pre-processing step for your data set, right? That depends on a data set.
Correct, exactly. So if suppose it is a very complicated data, then only you go for, complicated models. If it's a simple data, there is no point in applying, this particular data. But in our cases, for example, you have, say, you are doing spectral and mixing or super resolution, a simple approach will not succeed, because you have 400 bands and you have to enhance them simultaneously. And so that, those type of aspects we need to consider. So what we do is we learn some features from this existing data so that we finally use those features. Now the question is how, what are those features? So that is where we correlate it with explainability.
Sir, we have a question from a participant. Is there any explainable AI that convert the neural network model into decision tree model?
Yeah, actually that's also, see, like I told you in Lime, you can fit, the simple models onto a local prediction area of your model. Same way, you can also fit a decision tree there. Like we are fitting, for example, if I have, say, 1,000 data samples and I did a model, right? So I took 50 of those predictions. Now I try to fit a linear regression on those 50 samples. So now in that local area, I can explain what my network has learned. It may not be same with other samples, but only in that area I can explain. So same way, instead of linear regression, you can also fit a decision tree. It is self-explainable model. So we can do that. But you need to understand these are all post hoc explainability techniques, and constructing a decision tree may not be always trivial. So that is only problem.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you all for the
Yeah.
kind attention, and thank you for the kind invite.
Yes, yes. So, on behalf of the Institute, AP Shah Institute of Technology, Department of CSE Data Science, and the organizing committee and all participants, I sincerely thank Dr. Arun PV for an excellent session on explainable models for Earth observation data analytics. So, the clarity, the depth, and the real-time projects which you have presented to us has really given us insights, and it has enhanced our learning. So we appreciate your time and contribution, sir. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, man. Thank you all, particularly the participants also, because it's very difficult to be at an online session for 1.5 hours. Thank you,
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
thank you, man.
Okay, dear participants, a few guidelines before moving to the next session. You can see the feedback link is already being shared in the chat box. So please ensure that you are filling it right now for this particular session. That would be considered as your attendance. And also in the attendance policy, your Zoom recording, the duration time is also been considered. So based on all these things, so you can see in the screen the certificate eligibility also. So you can go through it, and we'll be starting our next session 7:30. Okay, so
We can start, ma'am.
okay.
Sir is here.
Yeah. Okay, sir. Okay. So we are getting into the next session. So the second session for the day, and yeah, it's my pleasure to introduce Mr. Pratik Paranzape, a highly skilled cybersecurity engineer and IT auditor, currently serving as a senior engineer in product cybersecurity in Becton Dickinson, based in USA. He holds a master's degree in cybersecurity from Syracuse University and a bachelor's degree in computer engineering from the University of Mumbai. Mr. Pratik brings rich experience from leading organizations such as Edwards Life Sciences, Discover Financial Services, Promptus, and Otherside AI. His expertise spans cybersecurity risk management, incidents response, IT auditing, network and cloud security, vulnerability assessment, GRC, and security automation. He has successfully implemented security architectures, strengthened regularity compliance, led cross-functional cybersecurity projects, and enhanced system resilience across multiple industries. On behalf of AP Shah Institute of Technology, Department of CSCDS, the organizing committee, I'm delighted to welcome Mr. Pratik as he leads today's session on attack against prediction algorithms and their countermeasures. With a strong background in cybersecurity, risk management, and advanced threat defense, his insights will undoubtedly provide an immense value to all participants. Sir, we are honored to have you here. Welcome you for the session, and over to you, sir.
Thank you so much for the invite and your kind words. Am I audible to you guys?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, you're audible.
All right, perfect. So let me go ahead and share my screen. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
All right, perfect. So let's get started. As ma'am introduced my topic, it's attacks against prediction algorithms and their countermeasures. So just a little bit background about me. Ma'am pretty much covered everything that I had over here. So I'm a cybersecurity engineer. Previously also worked as an IT auditor for Discover. It's one of the major credit card companies in the US. I have a master's in cybersecurity from Syracuse University and a bachelor's in computer engineering from University of Mumbai. I specialize in cybersecurity risk assessments, network and cloud security, regulatory compliance like NIST, HIPAA. HIPAA, for those who are not aware, it's actually the healthcare standard in US. It deals with the patient privacy, integrity, all those aspects. Just a brief background, I also have helped some organizations strengthen their security posture by conducting risk assessments, vulnerability assessments, that kind of stuff, all the fun stuff. We have a few things on the agenda today. So basically, we'll go through what prediction algorithms are. I'm sure quite a few of you already know that. Then we'll dive into the question like why secure them. We'll see what adversarial attacks are. And then we'll dive into the FGSM, that's fast gradient sign method. We'll see its attack vector and impact, the logic behind it, countermeasures, and a brief demo. We'll also see some case studies. Any questions so far? All right. So for the prediction algorithms, just a textbook definition, or I'm sure you can find that on the internet as well. It's basically using mathematical procedure or computational methods that uses historical and current data to identify patterns and relationships between all the data points, which are then leveraged to make informed forecasts or classifications. So some examples of it we use on a day-to-day basis, like weather forecast. Uh, what's it going to be like in the afternoon? Is it going to rain? Is it going to be sunny? That kind of stuff. All of those predictions are actually made using historical data. Some other examples are online shopping. You get targeted ads, you get user analytics, all of those things. Banking, fraud detection. Then we also have social media, quite a hot topic across the globe right now. We have seen some attacks on that. We'll come to those. So why secure them? Basically, within online shopping, the algorithms that they use is recommendation systems, predicting products that you may buy. Like you go on Amazon, you see a specific product, and next time around when you go back on Amazon, you see similar products which you haven't searched for, but now the Amazon software is actually predicting that you might be interested in buying X, Y, and Z. Then there is fraud detection, predicting suspicious purchases. Some examples that we might have seen in the news are people buying stuff, returning it, again buying stuff, again returning it, and just trying to fool the algorithm. And also during holiday season, we have the dynamic pricing algorithms. We have different sale going on, like over here right now, we have the Thanksgiving sale. For India, we can say like the Independence Day sale, Republic Day, Diwali sale, all of those. They actually use dynamic pricing. They can forecast how much the demand for a specific product would be. And based on that, they adjust the pricing so that the company is never in loss. So based on this, what are some threats? So adversarial manipulation can force wrong recommendations. So basically, like a person looking for a TV gets recommended a radio for no reason. Attackers can bypass fraud detection models. So as I mentioned, we see in the news people buy something, then return a fake item or a brick or something. And yeah, that happens on a day-to-day basis. And then pre-prediction tampering, it mostly affects the pricing models. So unfair pricing or revenue loss can be the impact for it. And then we also have a future slide that shows how this can be utilized by the attacker. In banking, the algorithms that most of us are aware about is the CIBIL scoring or the credit scoring for loan approval. Transaction fraud detection, you might have seen those coming around when you get a SMS or an email from your bank for a particular transaction saying that, hey, this looks fishy. Is this really you, or is someone else trying to log in? And then, of course, for banking, risk modeling and forecasting is one of the major ones. So the threat is adversarial inputs can inflate credit score. So a person with, let's say, 400 CIBIL score who shouldn't be approved for a 1 CR home loan is now being approved for a 2 CR home loan, even with that low of a credit score. Fraudsters can craft adversarial transactions to evade detection. We hear that on the news every single day that even with such high security measures, some people still fall prey to such attacks. They still lose their account access. Sometimes the loss is monetary. Manipulated predictions can cause incorrect financial risk assessment. So as I mentioned earlier, let's say a person with 400 credit score who should not have been approved for the loan, now they are still approved, they get the loan, they buy the house, they're not able to make the payments, and now the risk comes to the bank that how they're going to recover that loan. Similarly, in social media, the algorithms that they use is content ranking and feed personalization. You go on Instagram, you look at a specific cooking reel, and then for the next couple of days, you just keep getting all the different recipe reels in your feed. So that's again like a prediction algorithm. Instagram thinks that, oh, this guy looked at pav bhaji recipe, so he'll probably like all the other food recipes as well. So it starts suggesting those recipes instead of all the other reels or something that we want to see. Sentiment analysis for moderation. Typically, we see this during political campaigns, elections. In US, we have had examples where people claim that the sentiment across social media has swayed voting. Highly unlikely, but who's to say? And then, of course, fake accounts and bot detection. One of the major implementations of security on social media using AI. Problem is, this happens on such a large scale that we are still far behind detecting them and banning those accounts. What are the threats for it? So attackers can mislead moderation algorithms, evading bans. Adversarial posts can bypass toxicity filters. Social media usually uses filters for content. It's also called as content moderation. They have different algorithms that go through your content even before you publish it. And anything that's explicit or toxic in nature, that would be blocked by default. And sometimes, in some cases, it is also provided for future training along with some secondary analysis. Manipulated behavior data can influence public opinion and virality. As we discussed, the same in terms of like political opinions, especially during voting season. Before we dive into the next topic, does anyone have any questions? Am I going too fast, too slow? Okay, I take silence as no. All right, Ramesh, thank you for the thumbs up. So the next topic that we are going to look at is adversarial attacks. So adversarial attacks are techniques used to intentionally fool the machine learning model by manipulating input data by subtle changes that are imperceptible to humans but cause the AI to make incorrect predictions or behave as intended by the attacker. I have a diagram to look at. We'll come to that slide. So, what are the types of adversarial attacks? Few ones, labels you might find similar to testing, like the black box, white box, and there are two more in the next slide. So, what is black box? Attacker has no access to the model, only input or output queries, and uses probing, transfer attacks, or surrogate models. One example of this is prompt engineering, which you might have heard about, where people use specifically crafted prompts for ChatGPT, Gemini, Copilot, and get the data that they are not supposed to. Second example is the white box testing or the white box attacks. Over here, attacker has full access to the model, architecture, parameters, gradients, everything. This enables highly optimized attacks like FGSM that we are going to see, PGD and CW. There are other attacks like evasion, adversarial samples crafted at inference time to avoid detection. the goal over here is to fool the model during prediction without altering the training data. And the last one that we see is the poisoning attacks. Over here, attacker manipulates the training data to corrupt or bias the model. And the goal is to inject backdoors or degrade performance during future predictions. For example, if I was to attack a specific bank where I'm supposed to go and ask for a loan, I would try and hack into their mainframe, start attacking their prediction algorithms so that no matter what my CIBIL score is, I still get approved for the loan. Any questions? All right, so we'll move to the next topic. That's FGSM. It's fast gradient sign method. It's one of the oldest and most popular adversarial attacks used to intentionally deceive machine learning models. And it works particularly well for neural networks. And we have a demo where we'll see, we'll first create a neural network. We'll see the default prediction or the base prediction for it. And then we'll also see how the accuracy drops significantly after we do poisoning attack and FGSM. So FGSM attack vectors and impact. In terms of online shopping, the attack vector is they can introduce tiny modifications to the product images, user behavior profiles, usually stored in the cookies, or transaction features to fool machine learning models used on e-commerce platforms. Not to name any, but like Amazon, eBay, all of them are, they all fall prey to these attacks. Impact, we have manipulating recommendation systems. As I mentioned earlier, someone looking to buy a TV now gets recommended for radio or anything else except TV. Adversarial product images cause the recommender to incorrectly classify categories, pushing fake products into the trending list. Fraud detection bypass, FGSM modifies transaction features, example as the amount, location, those kind of things, to cross decision boundaries, and the system fails to flag fraudulent activity. Dynamic pricing manipulation, attackers influence demand prediction models by injecting adversarial signals to lower or raise product pricing artificially. In terms of banking, we have the attack vector, basically by perturbing financial data vectors or user behavior patterns. Like if you're used to going to a specific ATM, which is like closer to your house, and then all of a sudden your card is flagged somewhere like 100 kilometers away. An attacker can trick machine learning models in fraud detection, credit scoring, and risk assessment. This impacts credit score manipulation. FGSM generates adversarial feature inputs that push a low score into a safe class, bypassing approval thresholds. Fraudulent transaction evasion. Slight adversarial modifications allow fraudulent transactions to be classified as legitimate, reducing fraud detection accuracy. And loan default prediction misclassification. So the attacker distort borrower data such that risk predictions underestimate default probability, causing financial loss for the bank or the financial institution. Social media. Attack vector, again, FGSM crafted text, images, or behavior vectors can fool moderation, recommendation, and bot detection algorithms. We'll see a very good example of this where we have the MNIST dataset. It's a basic 0 to 9 digits dataset, and the model will start to fail predictions meaning it will start predicting digit 7, which we can see visually as 7, but the model starts to think that it is either 1, 3, 9, anything apart from 7. So we'll see that example. What's the impact? Content moderation evasion, fake account or bot detection bypass, and influencing recommendation algorithms, which technically we are not supposed to. So let's get into the gory details of this. Before we dive deeper, anybody have any questions so far? All right. So how does FGSM work? Basically, what we try to do is to minimize the loss function in a high dimensional space. We start calculating small perturbations and push those in the input data. Not sure if this expression is clearly visible on Zoom, but this is basically calculation of the adversarial input designated as X, ADV. That's basically the original input plus epsilon times sine of direction of maximum loss. Epsilon is the perturbation size, usually given as 0.1 to 0.3, those kind of stuff. Sine gives you the direction for fastest attack. So here's the diagram that I was suggesting previously. On the left, we see the blue X, that's our original input. After using the expression that we saw on the earlier slide, we calculate the X adversarial or the adversarial input. It's very close to the prediction line, the red colored X mark. And you can also see there's a red arrow going from the blue X to the red X, which basically shows the direction of the attack. And as you can see, our original input was way farther from the dotted line. That's the prediction line. And our adversarial input is extremely close to it because of the calculation. Example of that, on the right side, we see there's a white colored square. That's the original image. On the right side of that, we see the perturbation. It's literally just some random pixels that are calculated. We add both of them to get the adversarial image, where you can see the white square is still clearly visible, but in the black background, there are some small perturbations. So that's how an attack would happen using FGSM. Basically, the FGSM attack adds mathematically calculated perturbations, the red, white, blue pixels that we see here, to the original image to generate the adversarial image. But for a human, when you look at the original image and the adversarial image, they look pretty much the same, except the black boundary, which shows some perturbations, which humans usually tend to ignore. Countermeasures. So for countermeasures, there are few: adversarial training, distillation, input pre-processing. In adversarial training, the model is trained on adversarial examples, so it learns to correctly classify perturbed inputs. This is deemed as one of the most effective and widely adopted defense. We'll see an example of how to do that in the demo. It increases the robustness of gradient-based attacks like FGSM. Then comes distillation. So over here, we basically have like a secondary teacher algorithm to smoothen the gradients and reduce model sensitivity, which basically means that using distillation, on this image where you see the adversarial image, the perturbations in the black boundary, those will be smoothened out using a secondary algorithm so that the model still classifies it as a white square. It makes the model less reactive to small perturbations and helps defend against gradient-based white box attacks, meaning FGSM. Input preprocessing transforms the input to remove or reduce adversarial noise before feeding to the model. Examples include image denoising, JPEG compression, input quantization, random resizing cropping, those kind of things. Any questions before we go into the demo?
Sir, can we relate this to location privacy preservation?
Not specifically, but as long as your location privacy is using prediction models, yes.
Okay, okay, sir.
All right, so let's dive into the demo. And here, let me stop sharing the screen. Can you guys see my Google Colab screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so over here, we are going to use Torch Vision, Matplot, some basic Python libraries. The implementation is in Python. In this example, we are going to see how to train a CNN on MNIST dataset. That's the basic 0 to 9 digits that I was talking about. We are also going to evaluate accuracy on clean test data and then craft adversarial examples with FGSM and measure its robustness. So that's the epsilon that we saw in the previous slides. Then we'll also visualize the original versus the adversarial image, and we can visually see the perturbations, but the model will start to ignore those and start creating a havoc. Then we'll apply some countermeasures like adversarial training, input pre-processing, those things. So some basic inputs that we have here. For convoluted neural networks, we just create a basic CNN. And let me actually show you the first attack. So what we'll do is we'll see the attack first, and then we'll go back to the code and see how it works. Please bear with me. It'll take some time. In the meantime, while that loads, does anyone have any questions on the topic? Okay, so right now our CNN is training. Our loss function is 0.12, fairly good. In some time, we'll start seeing. Oh, I see there's some questions in the chat. Sorry, I wasn't tracking the chat.
Yes, so this is the first question. So which type of data sets are more sensitive to FGSM attack?
Okay, so from our experiments, the most sensitive ones are basically any pixelated images dataset like MNIST. Then there is the Cipher 10 data set, those are extremely sensitive. With small perturbations, we can still achieve a great attack on those. The complexity of the attack starts when you have very high def images. Like, let's say if you have a data set with DSLR pictures. So that's extremely difficult because a lot of pixels, this attack basically works on the pixel level. So you start adding some calculated data into the pixels to change its color, and that's how the attack would work. So right now, on the demo where you see FGSM evaluation for no defense, our epsilon, that's the attack vector, it's extremely low, like 0.0, 0.05. And we have our first output. So as you can see, the leftmost image, that's my original data set. It's a pixelated basic digit 7 with epsilon 0.2 and no defense. We add something that's very similar to 7, as you can see on the center image. That's my attack vector. And after combining those two, we get the rightmost image. For humans, it still looks like a 7, but the same model now predicts that as a 3. And that can be seen as the image labels on the top. Does that answer your question?
Yes, sir. So we have another question in the chat. Is Can I go with the
Yeah.
question, sir?
Yes, please.
Is FGSM effective against models trying to learn inverse transformation of encrypted or transformed geospatial coordinates?
Yes. So even with the encrypted or transformed geospatial coordinates, we'll still have some data that's visible to the model, like digits here and there. This attack is so simple, and that's actually what causes most of the models to fail, is because as long as all the data that, for example, like let's say encrypted data, I have a random string of location coordinates for it. So even within that string, if I start changing certain characters, like if I replace an A with a C, or I replace a 7 with a 9, now that's going to change my input data. And because of that, the attack will still be possible and FGSM will still be effective, even if the data is encrypted. Does that answer your question?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Awesome. So with pre-processing defense, we see we are still using the same 0.2 epsilon. Our attack is still successful using epsilon. So that's exactly what I mentioned earlier to answer your question. Like even with the defenses or the countermeasure, our attack was still possible because it's so basic image. We are just changing few pixels here and there that the model still fails to accurately predict. And we can still see that it's predicting it as a 3 instead of 7.
Sir, can we go with the question? A participant has a question here.
Yes.
What impact can an FGSM attack have on NDVI?
Sorry, can you repeat that question? You cut out in between.
What impact can an
Okay, I found this on the web. Can you repeat that question?
I'm sorry.
what impact can an FGSM attack have on NDVI?
Okay. Yep, I hear that. Thank you for that question. So again, in terms of impact on NDVI, short answer is an FGSM attack can distort NDVI values, making, let's say, like healthy vegetation appear unhealthy or unhealthy appear as healthy, significantly affecting any model or system that relies on NDVI. Does that answer your question, or should I go in a little bit depth on that? Like, I can explain like why that's still possible, because the NDVI data that we see, it's still again images. As long as it's images, we can still attack, because we can still change the pixel values, we can still change the data. Again, given that we have access to the model parameters, because it's a white box attack, so we still need access to the training data, all the model parameters, and then and only then we can still attack. Does that answer your question?
Yes, sir, we've got a reply. Okay. Thank
Awesome.
you.
And right now our demo is still running. It's using the adversarial training as a countermeasure for our FGSM attack. And again, like it takes a bit of time on my end. I tried running it on Google Colab, but it's not very fast. So, oh, I see.
So
We
can
have
you
another
repeat
question.
another question?
Yeah. Okay, let me read out the question first. What is the metric we use to see the performance of our FGSM model? So for performance of our FGSM model, we basically rely on epsilon. That's the perturbations that we are going to add to our original data set. And okay, I'll come back to the next question, but our accuracy depends on epsilon. So our intent is to keep our epsilon extremely low, like 0.01, 0.02, and still get our desired output. That's the attack being successful. And we'll see a example of accuracy. Thanks for that question, admin 24124.
We have
For
a
the
next
next,
question. What are the various defense techniques?
yes. So I'll come to those two questions. I see there are two more, various defense techniques, and how does the changing of epsilon affect perturbation. But before that, for admin 241424, their question on accuracy. If you see the model robustness versus the FGSM attack strength before adversarial training, which is also one of the defense techniques, that's the blue line. We see our accuracy drops significantly from close to 100% all the way down to 5%. But with adversarial training, our accuracy is still maintained very close to 80%, which in this case is good. As for the next question, what are the various defense techniques? So we saw earlier, we have adversarial training, we have input pre-processing, we have distillation. Those are some of the usual countermeasures for FGSM attack. Does that answer your question? Okay, so we'll move to the next question. How does changing the epsilon parameter affect perturbation behavior in numeric data sets compared to pixel data sets? So let's go to the implementation of the attack. Yeah. So because our epsilon is one of the parameters for the attack, even though I say that it's one of the most important ones, even if you have a pixelated or a numeric data set, that would still be a very successful attack, because our epsilon is being added to your original data set. So your original data set can be numeric, pixelated, string values, sound, absolutely anything. Does that answer your question?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, I just wanted to ask, can FGSM be adapted for satellite or hyperspectral EO data also?
Yes, it can be. But I would question, why would you want to use it? Because that kind of data is usually used in research, and FGSM is usually used by attackers. So you would rather rely on the countermeasures, that's distillation of your data, input pre-processing, that kind of stuff, instead of relying on FGSM.
Ma'am, you can, yeah.
Yes, sir, definitely. You're right. Just it came in my mind because the we are dealing with the hyperspectral and satellite images here in this FDP. So just I wanted to ask that.
Yeah. No,
Thank
so
you.
FGSM is or can be used for attack purposes actually on that data. So implementing the countermeasures should be your top priority for those.
Yes, thank you, sir.
So we have a faculty raising hand. Can we go with the question, sir?
Yes.
Yeah, Deepali ma'am, you can unmute yourself and go for the question.
Sir, can FGSM be used to generate adversarial queries for special databases such as KNN or range queries?
Sorry, can you repeat your question?
Yes, sir. Can FGSM be used to generate adversarial queries for special database such as KNN or range queries?
Not really. FGSM would actually be the attack itself, but for specially crafting those queries, you would use something like prompt engineering or some kind of evasion attacks.
Okay, sir.
So we have a question from a participant. Can we go with that question now?
Yes.
How does gradient masking work in the context of FGSM?
That's a really good question. Gradient masking is one of the countermeasures for it. Basically, using gradient masking, it will try to fool the FGSM attack itself by not making the model robust, but by making the gradients useless. Because as we saw in the images earlier, and we should be able to go back there, our entire attack relies on these perturbations, which are gradients to the pixel. So gradient masking is actually a very good countermeasure for it. Does that answer your question?
Yes, sir. We have got a reply. S. Can we go with the next question, sir? From other
Yeah.
How can we improve gradient-based attack in geospatial models?
How can we improve gradient-based attacks in geospatial
Geospatial.
models? Okay. So for that one, again, as long as your model can implement these countermeasures. It will help improve your gradient-based attacks, which is like FGSM. So for all your gradient-based attacks, your countermeasures are still the same, like input pre-processing. Start cleaning up your input data. Train your model on adversarial input as well. Make sure that you apply the correct labels even with the adversarial data. Those kind of things start helping you make your model more robust, making sure that it doesn't give you false predictions. Does that answer your question?
Yes, sir, we have got a reply. Thank you so much.
Yes. All right. So let's move on to the next topic if there are no further questions. Next, we'll look at some of the case studies for FGSM. So let me switch back to this screen. And I'll be happy to share the attack code, countermeasure code, everything with the team. So as I mentioned, we are using the MNIST or Cypher 10 dataset. Currently, I'm running on Python 3.10, but this is still possible using any of the later versions of Python. So let's dive into the case studies. Tesla, medical imaging, malware detection, some of the hot topics. So in case of Tesla, adversarial stop sign attack, there's actually a very good YouTube video that you can look for, where the researchers added small stickers on a stop sign, which caused the Tesla's vision system to misclassify it as a speed limit sign. And instead of stopping at the stop sign, it actually speed up and went way far, thus defying law and causing a havoc. This experiment demonstrated how tiny perturbations, like just a single small sticker, can manipulate the autonomous driving systems. Nowadays, we start to see everyone is going towards autonomous cars. It's big, Tesla, or there are other competitors. I believe even Mahindra has launched a new autonomous car. Yeah, we need to be extremely aware of these attacks. It's not theory anymore, it's practical. These things happen on a day-to-day basis. Medical imaging. So in medical imaging, FGSM can add some noise, and it can actually give you a wrong diagnosis of your MRI or CT scans. This is actually very, very possible. I work in a medical device manufacturer. So our devices, we make sure that we implement these countermeasures so that all the diagnosis that comes out of our devices do not fall prey to these attacks. In this case, let's say if someone had a tumor, the model can actually classify it as a malignant tumor instead of being benign. And thus, it can cause a harm to the patient where now they are being treated for some disease which they don't even have. So again, this experiment highlights risk in AI-based healthcare diagnostics. We should be very careful using AI in these terms. And then one of the most common examples or case studies that we see is the malware detection algorithms, which is again evasion attacks. Attackers can modify malware binaries on your device, and basically using FGSM like perturbations, it will start fooling your antivirus on your laptop, computer, mobile phone included, and the malware remains functional because the ML based antivirus is not able to detect it. This experiment shows how criminals can bypass AI-driven security tools, which is a boom these days because pretty much every cybersecurity tool is trying to implement AI, but it's still not 100% feasible. All right, so recap. I know we are ahead of time, and that's by design because I wanted to keep some question answer or discussion time at the end of this session. So we have seen prediction algorithms, why we should be securing them, what are adversarial attacks, what specifically is the fast gradient sign method attack, its attack vector and impact, the logic behind that attack and why it is successful, some countermeasures for it, a brief demo, and some case studies. Any questions?
So we have a question from a participant.
Mhm.
Can a single perturbation crafted on one geospatial dataset reliably mislead models trained on different geographic regions or seasons?
Yes. So as long as your model is using that, and I'm going to call it defected data set where we have the perturbation, as long as your model is using that data set to learn, it can still work. As we saw in the example of Tesla, where if you add just one small sticker on the stop sign, now the model, which was previously trained on good data set, it still thinks that, okay, this particular stop sign is actually a speed limit sign. So instead of stopping, it starts to speed up. Does that answer your question?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
All right. Any other questions or discussion?
Participants, the platform is open for question. You can raise your hands or post your questions in the chat box, or you can unmute yourself.
All right. I know it's about 9 o'clock over there. If no further questions, have a great evening and enjoy the weekend.
Yes, sir. We express our sincere gratitude to Mr. Pratik for an excellent session on attacks against prediction algorithm and countermeasures. Your expertise in cybersecurity has provided us with a deeper and clear understanding of adversarial threat and mitigation techniques through the demo which you have taken us, and also the case studies whichever you have discussed have given us a clarity about the topic, sir. Thank you for your valuable contribution and also for the patience that you have addressed all the questions, and also you ensured whether it has reached to the participants. So thank you so much, sir.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Sir,
I see
We
there
have
are
a
two more
question.
questions.
yeah. There are actually two questions in the chat box, sir. If you
Yeah,
please.
absolutely. Absolutely. So at this point, my presentation is over, and I just wanted to have this half an hour for people to have discussion on the topic. Any questions they would like to raise? So open platform. Let's go.
Yes, sir. The first question from the participant is, can we blend fuzzy logic and FGSM?
Uh, Logically speaking, no, really, because fuzzy logic depends on adding random string, like bulk of random string to your data, whereas FGSM is actually specially crafted using that expression that we saw. And let me bring you back to that. So to create our FGSM attack, we use this specific expression or mathematical calculation. So that's not random. Because of that, we cannot actually combine it with fuzzy logic to implement that attack. Does that answer your question?
Yes, sir.
All right.
So the next question from a participant is, what metric would you use to quantify the model stability under perturbation?
So to quantify that, again, we'll rely on our prediction and prediction versus your epsilon. So the slower or the smaller the epsilon and the larger the difference between your prediction, that's going to be your metric.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Any further questions? Doesn't have to be topic related. It can be anything cybersecurity. All right. If no further questions, that's all from me.
Yeah, I mean, no question as such, sir, but yes, I really appreciate. I mean, this kind of aspect is also required when we are discussing special data. I mean, till now we were only focusing on raster side. Through your discussion, we are now emphasizing on the security part and vector data as well. So, thank you. Thanks a lot for this.
Thank you
This
so
is
much,
also
ma'am.
one of the aspect when you're working on geospatial data, you need to focus on this part as well. So
Yes.
yes.
One example which was not on the slides, I was skeptical to put that.
Mhm.
We use geospatial data in our defense systems as well. So also think of that. Like, what if our defense systems or the models that are using our defense system, if those are vulnerable to such attacks, it can cause a havoc. So again, like machine learning, AI, I'm always pro machine learning and AI, but we also need to keep in mind that these models, they base on calculations. So if some calculation goes wrong, it can create an attack, and those attacks can have real life impact. So we need to be mindful of that. Not discouraging anyone from ML or AI, but we need to be mindful.
Sir, can you give more focus on the defense technique you have mentioned in the earlier question somebody asked, but if you can give a more focus on the defense against the attack?
Yeah, defense against the attacks. All right. Yes, absolutely. So let's actually go into the code and look at that. Let me share my screen. Let me know if you guys can see it.
Yes, sir.
Okay, perfect. So over here, this is our basic or the first defense that we saw. That's input pre-processing. Let me highlight that cell. So over here, we are actually trying to do the reverse calculation of what we did for our actual attack calculations. That way, our quantized input is still trying to reduce the effect of small perturbations. So as you saw in the images that we ran in the last cell, even with these perturbations, we are trying that our prediction is still comes out to 7. Of course, in this example, when I ran it, that attack still happened and our countermeasure failed. So that happens sometimes. If I run it again, it would probably pass this time, but we'll see. So that's one of the countermeasures. Second one is the adversarial training, where you start to add small perturbations intentionally to your data set. And that way, when your data set is used for training the model, it actually is aware about the adversarial input. And when an attacker is actually crafting that attack, and let's say they are able to modify your training data, the model will still point it out that, oh, it's being used as an attack vector, and now it will still use the correct classification instead of failing and giving a 7 as a 3. So adversarial training, I would say, is the most important countermeasure. We have seen some examples of it in real life. Like if I take you back all the way back to Shivaji Maharaj time, like we have heard stories where her mother would, like his mother would give him small doses of poison on a daily basis, just so that it doesn't affect his body when an attacker tries to do that. Same logic we apply in computer science, where we are training our model on purpose with poisonous data so that our model is not affected and our classifications are still correct. Same logic, just different implementation. Does that answer your question?
Yes, yes, sir.
So we have two more questions. Can we go with the questions, sir?
Yeah.
The first question from the participant is, what are the current challenges or open problems in this area for researchers?
A couple things. So, very first, awareness is a major issue. Most people are not even aware that such an attack is possible. So, we need to start creating that awareness within the community. Second is the implementation details. Even if someone is aware, they don't know where to start. So let's make that possible. And this was my sincere effort to try and make you guys at least aware of such attacks, so that yeah, you would still start to think what is needed, how someone can attack. Basically, you just need to get into the attacker mindset. Like sometimes it's easier if you start playing for the other team, or get into the mindset of that, and that way you can start to see, like, okay, this is my model, these are the flaws, these are the drawbacks that can happen, how someone can implement that, those kind of things. It's all about the mindset and your awareness. So as long as we have awareness, as long as people are willing to admit that machine learning can fail, I think we are covered.
Thank you, sir.
So we have
Any
another
other?
question.
Yeah.
How can an attacker approximate the PGSM gradient when PPML system impose randomized noise and rate limit and propagation delay?
Right. So privacy preserving machine learning, that's one of the other countermeasures. Uh, it's not as effective as the others because we are still using training data as our attack vector. So PPML would give you some random strings, it will attach it to your training data. But for an attacker, they are not actually concerned about your original data, like what the values are, but rather they would just try to mimic whatever you have as your training data and start changing bits and pieces within it. So even if PPML is used as countermeasure, it's more for the privacy of the data compared to its accuracy.
Thank you, sir. So there's one more question from another participant.
Yes.
How can SHAP improve transparency in AI models?
Sorry, I'm not aware of that. Could you repeat the question?
How can SHAP improve transparency in AI models?
Yeah, that's something that I'm not aware of. I would need to go back and do some research on that.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Dear participants, any other questions from your end? You can raise your hands or post it in the chat, unmute yourself. Okay, I think there's no more question. Sir,
All right.
yeah. Thank you so
All
much,
right.
sir, for the wonderful
Thank
session
you.
and taking us through all the questions and answers.
Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Dear participants, so as we say every day, you can see the link being shared in the chat box, the feedback link for this particular session, which will be considered as your attendance. So please ensure that you are filling the forms for all the sessions. So for this session, it has been shared. So kindly fill the form. And yeah, a heartfelt thank you to each one who have attended today's session and the contribution that you have done for today's session. Your engagement, the curiosity, and the discipline, it added a greater value to today's program. So we appreciate the time and the effort you invested, and we hope the knowledge shared today will definitely support your professional and the academic journey. So thank you so much, and tomorrow we will meet again, and a gentle reminder to join the session 5 minutes prior so that we can have a smooth conduction of the session. Thank you, everyone.